The arts are often considered to be at the periphery of the community development process and only a minor player in improving the lives of the less fortunate in impoverished areas. Despite challenges that artists face, they use their talents to address the social ills in their communities. Zambian-born artist Caroline Libonga Ningwenya is educating the children using art as a platform at Tsakani Kids. I am Bule Mulebati. Welcome to the show. Let's go to Kaya Sense to see how Caroline is making a difference through art.
Meet Caroline, an inspiring woman who is empowering our future generation. This is where her journey began.
Wow. Well, Caroline started her journey a long time ago. I was born in Zambia, and I made my journey here to South Africa when I was about 6 years old. And from Zambia, we moved to the Eastern Cape, then Butterworth, and that's where I was fortunate to go to a good school there. And from the northwest, from Butterworth, we moved to the northwest. And from the northwest, that's where basically I did most of my schooling.
She studied fine arts, though her parents thought she would venture into a completely different field.
My adopted dad had insisted that I go and study accounting, because I think it was one of those things like, you're either a doctor or an accountant, the norm of studying that kind of line of profession. But I knew from a long time ago that I enjoyed to express myself more in art.
With her mind made up, she went for her dreams.
So I caught a bus with a friend of mine. First we raised some money, to get to Johannesburg. So we heard that the Art Foundation, which was like an art school then, was running interviews, to get into the first year. So we came in, submitted some of our works, and then they loved our work, and we got a bursary through one of the banks, and we studied there for 4 years. I did fine arts, I did graphics, as well as sculpture. And it was a good opportunity for me to experience different disciplines of art. And I just thought I was going to be like a commercial artist, make money from my art, and it so happened in my third year of study, there was a lady that came to our institution, and she was looking for people to help her, to start off a project in Witkoppen, which is one of the schools in our area. And I thought, okay, fine, give it a shot, see what I can do just for the fun of it. And that's where everything changed. Then I found more purpose with what I was studying, because then it wasn't just a matter of studying in hope that whatever I've studied is going to enrich me, but instead what I was studying was going to be a vehicle to be able to help other people, especially children.
Life wasn't always perfect, but she faced each day positively.
I can't say there were difficulties in any way in terms of the home environment, but going outside the home environment, such as school, we grew up at a time when apartheid was really, really strong. And I remember going to a school in Umtata where we had, even in Butterworth as well, where we had to compete in sports. And then I remember being in a school environment where for being black already you were criticized to the core. There were times when you would speak to a child of a different color and just bumping into them like they'll brush off, whatever dirt you might have put onto them. So it took a while, but it was a hard realization for me because I didn't know much. I just knew that I've got a loving family and, I go to school, and then that's what I faced. And for me, from a very young age, I taught myself to always excel in everything I do. And it's a God-given talent that I used to run. I used to race like in terms of short distances, like your 200 meters and 400 meters. So for me to cope then with that discrimination, I used to say to myself that, I'm going, even though I might not really beat them or I can't beat them to their own game, but put me on the ground, put me on the field, that's where I can prove myself.
She has decided to use her skills to help future generations around her neighborhood.
So I found myself where I had to do a teaching course just to be able to get myself to speed where I could use my talent as well as my experience or my qualifications now to be able to use that, to reach out to kids.
For the past 11 years, she has been reaching out to the community in Kaya Sands and taking in children to educate. And this was the genesis of Tsakani Kids.
I wish it was as simple as planning out to say the following year that's what I was going to do. But we're staying in an area not far from here where in a complex, the time when I was not working on certain days, because the project would work like, let's say 3 times in a week. So on the days that I wasn't working, kids in my environment started realizing that they would see me painting, they would see me sculpturing something, and then one by one they would come, to me to like basically do the same thing as I was doing. And during that time, that's when we would have like conversations, we would see what they loved about the work and using that as a tool as well, like, for therapy. So when we moved out of the complex and started renting a home, it became very evident that the kids who I used to work with followed me. And by the time I knew it, from like 2 kids it became 10 kids, and to a point where I had to register an NGO. And that's where Tsakani Kids basically started.
Let's take a quick break. Caroline talks more about art as an alternative means to educate and heal children from broken homes when we return.
Jumbo Africa, welcome to the newsroom. I'm Elvis Preslin.
Let us build our continent brick by brick, stone by stone, until we achieve.
Prasad asked the court to review and cancel the contract after adverse findings by both the Auditor General as well as the Public Protector.
Well, Christianity is under attack globally. It has been from the beginning of time.
Get all the dominating stories locally and globally on Newsroom every Monday to Friday from 9 a.m.
Fashion influencers are diversifying the industry, leading a fashion revolution like never before.
It's time for us to come together now. What we face is the most significant moment in the history of this subcontinent.
Armstrong uses still with soft drawings and watercolors to create a disruption within the exhibition.
What you see in the show is almost like a snapshot of me as a being in process.
The band's so excited about their latest creation and believe it's their best work yet.
It's a happy album. It's got 8 tracks. First single, which is Nana, in it, and Nana is pumping already.
For your weekly dose of entertainment news, tune into Trends every Saturday from 12 to 1.
Welcome back to the show. Today we look at how art is providing a safe haven for children at Kaya Sands. Here is more on this from the founder of Tsakani Kids, Caroline Gwenya.
Tsakani Kids in Kaya Sands is now up and running, with the number of children gradually increasing.
Well, the name Tsakani comes from a Sotho name, basically that means children studying under or learning under a tree. And for me, a tree has so many symbolism. Even if one looks at it from a religious point of view, that we are like, like compared to a vine and we are the branches. So for me to choose the name Takani was quite easy because I could relate long time ago going to learn under a tree, because many of us, we started going to school in basically the middle of nowhere. So I wanted a symbol that could represent a place where kids could come to a place where it might not be much, but what you get out of it is just so much more.
Some of the children that came here were purely hungry for education.
I find a lot of the children that come to Takani are kids that find us. We've never advertised for any of our children. With the 38 kids that we've got now, they found us. And these are kids that are from all walks of life. And they're kids that when they come in here, they are so closed up. And it's amazing how we can go under a tree like outside, have a chat, be in an open environment. And that's where you can do your arts, your music, your dance, your dramas. But just being in that open environment helps the child to even open more as well.
The school caters for children from grade 1 to 12, and the curriculum is designed to enable individualized learning in school and at home.
When we started, Takani Kids was basically an ECD, which is an early childhood development. We registered it as an NPO. So we were following a play with a purpose curriculum, which I also trained for. So in that sense, you basically encourage kids to learn your maths concepts, basically everything that you would learn in a formal preschool. And that's what they do. So from ages of 2 years up to 6, which is grade R, they come in, we teach them, and we make sure that by the time they get to grade R, they're school ready. So with the kids that would graduate after grade R, I realized that, many of them are kids who I've been with for a long time. So I know their history, and financially I know that they cannot go to very well-off schools or to schools that can be able to carry on with the seed that we've planted in them. So I did some research and I came upon Impact curriculum, which is like a homeschooling curriculum, which is the license that we've bought. So now we can go from grade 1 right up to grade 12.
I can sing.
Oh, so Chaka Chaka likes to sing. So how does Chaka Chaka help people when they're in trouble?
The relationship Caroline has with the children doesn't end at school, but it goes beyond to even their homes.
When kids come here, we build a relationship, and I always remind myself, I said, above all, love them, give them the best that you can, and to stay humble as well, because there might be 38 kids, but I always make it a point that they came here. I've got a team of teachers that I work with, but once they come here, they need to know who I am, because I believe that I've been instructed to love them, to educate them, and then to have obviously people that are helping me to be able to achieve those goals. So we make it a point that we build a strong relationship with the kids, but we also make sure that we reach out to the parents, because mind you that whatever situation that they're in, it doesn't start and stop there. Once they leave here, they go home. And one has to ask themselves, what kind of homes are they going into, or are they going back to? So we make it a point that we go and make sure that we know what kind of environment the kids come from. Most of our children, yes, they come from just a nearby informal settlement. There are times when a child will not be here for 2 days. Myself and the teachers, we go out. By the 3rd day, we do house visits. We make sure that if there are any needs, we come back, get those needs, and go back to them. Sometimes it can be medical. You might find that the child is not coming to school because maybe mama is not well. So it means we have to make sure that we get her to a local hospital where she can get help. So it's very important as well that we don't only have a relationship with the child and he stops there, but it's always extended to the parents, because once the child knows that they've got like a cushioned environment where they know they are loved at school, the same has to happen at home. It needs to carry on as well once they go home. When they come in, we hug them. We can tell so much by hugging a child or hugging anyone, because there's a certain language that you might not verbally voice out, but the body language tells so much. So we make it a point that when we greet the kids, we give them hugs, and if there's any issues that we need to talk about, we deal with them there and then. If it requires us, myself and the teacher, to go home, we make sure we do the house visit.
Where does she get the money to meet such demands?
We are not funded right now, but I'm honest to say that we've never gone without. And as much as there are those financial dynamics of kids that have got absolutely nothing, there are those ones that can pay, let's say, 700 Rand, and we don't ask more than that. So there are about 10 to 15 kids that can be able to pay something. And we don't ask them like, this is a must that they have to come up with an X amount. But what we do is we ask them, say, look, whatever you can bring in, let's have an agreement. And what we do is, like, as long as we can cover overheads, which is basically a stipend, you can't call it a salary for the teachers. And then the rest, we just make sure the basics, your rice and, those kind of dry foodstuffs. And that's what we give them.
Caroline is passionate about seeing kids healthy, whole and happy, and really nurturing their strengths through the arts. To some, she may even have to act as a mother and comforts because of things they go through back at home.
One of the kids, I remember she's 3 now, but like when she first came to us, she was like a year and a half, and her older brother was like 3 years old. And I heard about them that there were these 2 kids that were in a shack for a long time because their mom had actually passed on. And for about a week or so, nobody realized that these kids have been in a shack for so many days, and nobody saw either the mom, a single mom, their mom, or the kids coming out of the house. So a neighbor, after some time, she got curious, like, let me just go and check. And when she went there, she realized these kids were basically sitting with their mom who had passed on for those couple of days. And we brought them into the school. In cases like that, obviously, like, you don't ask much from them, but just for the kids to be in our environment. So we brought them in, and those kids were so closed up. They used to sit in the corner, the 2 of them, like, huddle, next to each other and not want to talk to anyone. And it took a long time. It took a long time for us to have a breakthrough where they could trust us. Because I remember after some time, after like a month or so, I asked the little boy, I said, my boy, come here, let me give you a hug. So as I was giving him a hug, and he goes, you're going to kill me. So I could relate to him not trusting anyone, and I could also relate to him being in an environment where you've got so many questions. So you can imagine kids that young, going through such a traumatic experience. And that's where I said, let me use what I've been given, which is art. We'll do a lot of role playing, and we'll do a lot of drawings.
Time now for another short break. When we return, we find out the work that Caroline does with the elderly from Cosmos City. Stay with SABC News.
A warm welcome to one of your favorite weekly review analysis programs, Media Monitor. So let's look at the race itself. It's just becoming a personality contest where people just want somebody to guard their own vested interest. And I feel that the country is at a point now where we need some sort of change.
It is ANC policy that they will have to implement. We fairly know the direction the ANC wants to take. As a leader, you have to implement. So what was it like on the ground in Kenya? Well, the country is divided. The country is very divided.
I think within the country, for me, the one person that I criticize severely, and I'm not very happy with his approach, is Raila Odinga, with him pulling out.
Stay tuned to Media Monitor and catch on analysts unpacking top stories every Sunday from 9 a.m.
Welcome back to the show right here on SABC News. Caroline Ngwenya is doing her bit to give the children in her community an opportunity to learn through an art school that she founded with her own capital. She has also taken interest in educating the elderly in Cosmo City. Here is more on her passion to work with the young and the elderly.
Caroline has not only passed on her knowledge and skills to the little children, she also works with a group of elderlies in Cosmo City.
I met a group of grannies who were already doing some exercises with the local gym in Cosmo. And I fell in love with the grannies because I saw how dedicated they were. And coming back to my God-given talent, I thought, okay, let me have a conversation with them. Let me find out in terms of where they're coming from and see if they can express that in one of the art forms. And I spoke to one granny and she told me I don't know how to draw. I can't hold a paint, but I can tell you of where I come from. I can be able to tell you stories of who I am or where I was, whether it's 50 years ago. And that's when I thought it sparked a light to say there has to be a connection between the very old and the very young. A lot of the grannies that we work with on Wednesdays, they were domestic workers. And for them to have experienced June 16 in that way, many of them said they would have loved to have been one of those that were wounded in a way, because the struggle and the pain they felt as well. But because many of them were working in homes where they were basically locked in and they couldn't leave. So we expressed, their artwork, on some fabric, and some of them did it on cardboard. And then I said, okay, fine, whether it's cardboard, whether it's fabric, let's hang it like a washing line. Because in that sense, it expresses how or what kind of work they were doing then, but still having the individual images, of their experiences, their individual experiences. I'm fortunate to be in the position that I am in, because the love that I get from the kids is so much more than, that I've asked for. Because once a child is able to know that they're loved, you are able to achieve so much more. I wake up every single morning and ask okay, so what adventure are we going to have today? Because every single day is different from the other, in the sense of when we here, we have so much fun. And, the kids that, when they get here, they're like, I don't want to leave. So for me, just to be able to see those kind of fulfillments from the kids, that keeps me going. Because I know that I will not be able to save the whole world. But for me, if I can know that I've made a difference in one child's life, whether it's for that day or for that year or, for those years that they were here with us, that's enough for me.
She shares some of her dreams for the school.
I pray that the school can be able to grow and change more lives, because you find a lot of kids that are also here that they're from different countries. Maybe one parent is South African and the other parent is not. And the fact that they're here, I always believe there's a reason and there's a purpose why they're here. So they need to give back, in one way or the other. So if they can be encouraged to be, whether it's an engineer or whether it's to be an artist, they need to be the best that they can be. So for me, I want to be able to see a child who was maybe broken in the beginning to standing tall and strong as an adult that can have a positive impact into their community. When I had my daughter, I was not working. Yes, I was doing the project, and then when the project closed down, I found myself where even a 500 rand that we used to get was not there. And my husband then, obviously he was working, but just to be able to assist him and also to be able to be in a space where I also feel fulfilled that I've contributed something. So what I used to do is I used to wake up in the morning, make tea, and then at lunchtime make plates and go and sell on Witkoppen. I used to put my child on my back, and then I would push a wheelbarrow which we had found in the premises where we were renting. And for me, I encouraged myself to say, let me start with a very little. It can be selling tomatoes, or whether it's beadwork. It has to be something. Always, I believe you need to look within and look deep and feel that there is something that you can honestly do to your best potential, however little it might be. Because, when you're in that space where you are ready to do something, there's going to be somebody who is going to be connected to you to say, okay, here is something to start with. I was fortunate where my husband said, okay, here is a little bit. With that little bit, I went to go and buy something that I had to cook, and then I inspired myself to put my child on the back, because then I couldn't afford to take her to preschool. And I think that's where also I felt that because I was not in a position to take her to preschool, I had to reach out to other people that couldn't also afford. So I would put her on my back, go to sell plates on Witkoppen, come home, even if I had made, whether it's 25 Rand or 50 Rand, it was enough. Because with that, I was able now to go and buy more and make, more plates for the next day. So it's always that seed. It's always just that starting seed that you need, and to be able for you to believe in yourself to say, with this little bit, I can do so much more.
Caroline, your bravery and selflessness shows that you're working for a cause and not for applause. But we as Bophelong salute you for your sheer determination and for losing yourself in the service of others.
Would like to thank Caroline for sharing her story, and you at home for watching. To Caroline, thank you for caring for our children. Indeed, it takes a village to raise them. That's it for today. Until next week, it's a goodbye from us here on the show.